They told the class to forge steel. The human girl chose bone instead. No one noticed the humans at first. They were too quiet. In a galaxy filled with loud species, flashing armor, glowing eyes, and powerful voices, humans were easy to ignore. They did not shine. They did not roar. They did not threaten. They observed. The Galactic Alliance had existed for hundreds of cycles. Wars had been fought, treaties signed, borders redrawn. Every species knew its place. Warriors fought, thinkers planned, workers followed. Humans were placed at the bottom, not because they were useless, but because they were misunderstood. Humans came from Earth, a planet the Alliance records labeled as high-risk survival environment. Earth had unstable weather, violent predators, deadly diseases, and constant natural disasters. Most species believed no intelligent life could evolve under such conditions. Humans proved that assumption wrong. Still, surviving a harsh planet did not mean surviving a galactic war. At least that was the belief. When humans joined the Alliance, they were welcomed politely and assigned harmless roles. Engineers, technicians, analysts, support crews. They repaired ships after battles. They cleaned debris. They studied data. They were never placed on the front line. The Krill Dominion noticed this. The Krill were old enemies of the Alliance, tall, armored-born fighters. Their society valued strength above all else. Weakness was not tolerated. Mercy was seen as failure. To the Krill, humans looked like a mistake. "Why does the Alliance protect these creatures?" Commander Zalrith asked, staring at a live feed of human workers aboard a defense station. "They contribute in non-combat roles," an advisor replied carefully. Zalrith's mandibles clicked in amusement. "So they hide behind real soldiers." The Krill invasion plan was simple: strike fast, strike hard, break the Alliance morale in one move. The target was Virx 9, a neutral defense world, trade hub, symbol of cooperation. If Virx 9 fell, the Alliance would fracture. The Krill fleet arrived without warning. Alarms screamed across the planet. Defense platforms fired desperately, but Krill weapons were stronger, faster, ruthless. Explosions lit the sky. Inside Orbital Station 9, panic spread. Alliance soldiers rushed to stations. Orders overlapped. Systems failed. And humans were told to leave. "All human units evacuate immediately," the command broadcast echoed. "This is an active combat zone." Human teams acknowledged the order. Then they stopped. Lieutenant Elias Morgan stood in a dim corridor, listening to the sounds of battle. He was an engineer, not a soldier. He had never fired a weapon in space. He looked at his team. They were scared, but they were thinking. "If we leave," one human said quietly, "the power grid fails in 8 minutes. And shields drop in 10, another added. Elias exhaled slowly. "Then we don't leave," he said. They did not announce their decision. They just worked. Humans spread through the station, repairing broken systems under fire. They rerouted power through damaged lines. They sealed hull breaches with temporary fixes that should not have worked. But they did. Other species noticed something strange. Systems stabilized. Weapons that should have gone offline kept firing. Defensive shields held longer than predicted. A Venturi officer stared at his console in disbelief. "Who is managing this load balancing?" A reply came through the channel. "Human Engineering Unit." Confusion spread. Humans were not trained for battle command. Yet somehow they were improving the defense. On the Krill flagship, Commander Zalrith frowned. "Why has resistance increased?" he demanded. Sensors flickered, data flowed. "Sir," an officer said slowly, "human units are coordinating internal systems." Zalrith laughed once, sharp, disbelieving. "Then remove them." Krill assault squads boarded the station. They expected panic. They found silence. Lights shut down section by section. Gravity shifted suddenly. Hallways turned into traps. Doors sealed, then opened at the wrong times. Krill soldiers fell. Not to weapons. To planning. To timing. To environments turned against them. Humans did not charge. They controlled. When the first human died, shot while holding a repair tool, the station changed. Human channels went quiet. Then one message spread through every human unit. Switch to contingency protocols. No shouting. No crying. Just action. Explosions triggered where humans had placed charges for emergencies. Airlocks opened and closed with perfect timing. Krill units were isolated, separated, eliminated. Alliance soldiers watched in shock. These were not trained soldiers. These were survivors. Commander Zalrith stood frozen as reports flooded in. Krill units lost. Boarding teams neutralized. Human activity increasing. He stared at the screen showing human faces, calm, focused, cold. They were never weak, he whispered. Above Virx 9, new ships arrived. Human ships. Not warships. Converted cargo vessels, mining rigs, old transports. Armed. The unexpected war had begun. And the galaxy had just made a very bad move. The first mistake. The Krill believed fear was enough. Fear had always worked before. When their ships appeared in the sky, most species surrendered. When their soldiers marched forward, resistance collapsed. Fear was the Krill's greatest weapon. Humans did not fear the Krill. That confused everyone. Inside the damaged orbital station above Virx 9, Alliance soldiers were exhausted. Ammunition was low. Shields were failing. Casualties were rising. Humans were still working. They moved through smoke-filled corridors with tools in their hands instead of weapons. Their faces were tight, focused, tired, but not afraid. Commander Zalrith watched the station feed carefully. He could see humans everywhere, repairing, rerouting, stabilizing systems that should have failed. This makes no sense, he growled. His advisor hesitated. They are not attacking us directly, Commander. Then why are they dangerous? Zalrith snapped. The advisor did not answer. Because even he did not understand it yet. On the station, Lieutenant Elias Morgan crouched beside a shattered console. Sparks jumped across exposed wires. The air smelled of burnt metal. A Venturi officer knelt beside him. Why are your people still here? She asked. You were ordered to evacuate. Elias did not look up. Orders change when people start dying. You are not soldiers. No, Elias said quietly. We're worse. The Venturi officer frowned. Worse. Elias connected the final wire. Power surged back into the corridor. Defense turrets reactivated. We adapt, he said, under pressure. The Krill boarding teams advanced deeper into the station. They expected screams, chaos, easy kills. Instead, they found empty corridors. Lights flickered off behind them. Doors sealed ahead. Gravity shifted suddenly, slamming soldiers into walls. This is a trap, one Krill shouted. Too late. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, splitting the squad. Air vents released blinding gas. Not poison, not lethal. Disorienting. Humans had designed it that way. They did not want fast deaths. They wanted control. Alliance soldiers watched from secured areas as Krill units disappeared from sensors one by one. How are humans doing this? A Zephian commander whispered. No one answered. In the command center, human voices quietly filled the channels. Seal section Delta 9. Wait 5 seconds before opening the airlock. Redirect heat through corridor C. Make them move. There was no panic in their voices. No excitement, just calm instructions. Commander Zalrith slammed his clawed fist into the armrest. Send heavier units, he ordered. Crush them. More Krill soldiers boarded. More never returned. Then something happened that changed everything. A human died. She was an engineer, not a fighter. Her name never reached the reports. She was repairing a shield generator when a Krill soldier fired without warning. She fell instantly. Human channels went silent. For 3 seconds. Then one message appeared on every human display. Protocol Black. Alliance commanders did not know what that meant. The Krill would soon learn. All non-human units were suddenly locked out of key systems. Doors responded only to human codes. Environmental controls shifted sharply. Temperature dropped. Oxygen levels adjusted. Lighting vanished. The station became a weapon. Krill's soldiers panicked. Their armor was strong, but it was built for open combat, not tight corridors and shifting gravity. Humans used the station itself to fight. They never rushed. They never screamed. They waited. Commander Zalrith stared at the data in disbelief. These are not warriors, he said slowly. They are survivors. Above Vyerx 9, the Krill fleet prepared a final strike. They would destroy the station completely. Then human ships arrived. Old ships. Converted ships. Mining vessels with reinforced hulls. Cargo transports fitted with weapons that should not exist. They moved into formation without orders. Alliance command stared in shock. Human fleet requesting permission to engage. A voice said calmly over the channel. Permission was never given. Humans did not wait. They attacked. Not with superior firepower. With precision. Krill's supply ships vanished first. Communication relays were targeted next. The Krill fleet lost coordination in minutes. Commander Zalrith felt something new twist inside his chest. Not anger. Fear. These humans, he whispered, they were never harmless. On the station, Elias Morgan stood over the wreckage of a neutralized boarding team. His hands trembled slightly. Not from fear. From control. A Venturi officer approached him carefully. What are you people? Elias looked up, eyes tired, voice calm. We are what happens, he said, when you push something that learned to survive pain. The war was no longer unexpected. It was inevitable. And the galaxy had just made its first mistake. Humans do not panic. Panic spreads fast in space. When alarms sound, most species react the same way. Hearts race, thoughts scatter, orders overlap, mistakes multiply. Humans react differently. They slow down. On Vyerx 9 orbital station, chaos ruled every corridor. Smoke filled the air. Emergency lights flickered. Gravity stuttered on and off without warning. Alliance soldiers shouted into broken comms. Officers argued about retreat routes. Defense systems failed one after another. In the middle of all this, the humans became quiet. Not frozen. Focused. Lieutenant Elias Morgan stood at a junction where 3 corridors met. Around him, human engineers crouched behind damaged panels, studying maps and sensor feeds. A young Alliance officer ran toward him, breathing hard. Why aren't your people evacuating? She demanded. This station is collapsing. Elias looked at her calmly. No, he said, it's bleeding, there's a difference. She stared at him, confused. When something bleeds, Elias continued, you stop the bleeding first. The humans split into teams without discussion. No one waited for orders. Each person already knew their role. One group stabilized power flow. Another sealed weak hull points. A third began quietly placing small devices along corridors. Not bombs. Controls. On the Krill flagship, Commander Zalrith watched the live feeds. He expected screaming civilians, fleeing workers, easy kills. Instead, he saw empty corridors and closed doors. "Where are the humans?" he demanded. "They are everywhere, Commander," a sensor officer replied slowly, "but also nowhere." Zalrith did not like that answer. Krill boarding teams advanced deeper into the station. Heavy armor, plasma rifles ready, perfect soldiers for direct combat. Direct combat never came. Lights shut off suddenly, plunging the corridors into darkness. Then gravity flipped sideways. Krill soldiers slammed into walls, disoriented. A door opened behind them, then closed, separating the unit. "This station is fighting us," a Krill shouted. "No," another replied, "something else is." The humans watched through internal cameras. They did not cheer. They did not rush forward. They waited. When the Krill unit regrouped, the air pressure dropped sharply. Armor seals strained. Breathing became harder. Then pressure returned. Again. Again. Humans had studied how Krill bodies reacted to stress. They applied that knowledge carefully. Alliance soldiers observing from secured zones felt a chill. These humans were not reacting emotionally. They were calculating outcomes. A Venturi commander whispered, "They are treating this like a problem, not a battle." That was exactly what it was to humans. A problem to solve. When a human engineer was shot near the reactor level, word spread fast through human channels. No shouting followed. No rage. Just one short message. "Confirm loss." "Confirmed." "Proceed." For a moment, nothing changed. Then everything did. Human units stopped repairing non-essential systems. All effort shifted to control and containment. Doors sealed tighter. Environmental systems obeyed human commands only. Emergency routes disappeared from enemy maps. The station became silent. Too silent. Cry-attached squads tried to retreat. They could not. On the bridge, Commander Zalrith stared at the tactical display. "Krill units are failing," he growled. "Why?" An officer swallowed. "They are being isolated, Commander, controlled, eliminated in segments." "By engineers," Zalrith snapped. "By humans." Zalrith's claws tightened. Above the planet, something new appeared on sensors. Human ships. Not sleek war vessels. Old designs, rough modifications, reinforced hulls made from mining plates and cargo frames. They should not have been effective. They were. Human ships did not charge forward. They drifted into position quietly, cutting off supply lines and escape routes. Alliance Command tried to contact them. "Human fleet, wait for orders." The reply was calm. "We're preventing further damage." And they did. Krill communication relays were disabled without destruction. Navigation systems failed. Formation broke apart. Zalrith felt cold spread through his chest. "These humans," he muttered, "they don't fight like warriors." On the station, Elias Morgan stood near a viewport, watching human ships move with slow precision. A Zephian officer approached him. "Why are your people so calm?" Elias thought for a moment. "Because panic wastes energy," he said. "We learned that on Earth." "What is Earth like?" the officer asked quietly. Elias did not smile. "Unforgiving," he replied. "You learn fast or you don't last." Behind him, the station system stabilized. Krill resistance faded. Humans began restoring access for Alliance forces. They did not celebrate. They cleaned up. Commander Zalrith finally understood the truth too late. Fear did not weaken humans. Pressure did not break them. Loss did not stop them. It sharpened them. As the Krill fleet retreated in disarray, one final message broadcast across open channels. Human voice, calm, steady. This conflict can end now. Zalrith stared at the screen. Humans were not panicking. They were deciding. And that terrified him more than any weapon. You hurt one, you wake all. The human did not scream. That was the part everyone remembered. When the krill weapon fired, the blast hit her in the chest. She was standing near an open panel, hands covered in grease, trying to stabilize a failing system. She fell. No final words. No dramatic last breath. Just silence. For a moment the corridor did not change. Smoke still drifted, lights still flickered, alarms still echoed through the station. But something deeper shifted. Human communication channels went completely quiet. Not broken. Not jammed. Silent. Alliance officers noticed immediately. Human units report status, one commander said. No reply. Another tried. Human engineering teams respond. Nothing. Across the station, humans stopped moving. They stood still for exactly 3 seconds. 3 seconds where the entire station felt heavy. Then one message appeared. It did not come from a commander. It did not come from Alliance Command. It came from everywhere. One of ours is down. The message spread instantly across every human device, every human ship, every human unit in the system. On the Krill flagship, Commander Zalrith watched sensor data scroll faster than before. Why did human signals stop? He demanded. An officer scanned frantically. They haven't stopped, Commander. They've synchronized. Zalrith felt a cold sensation crawl along his armored spine. On the station, Lieutenant Elias Morgan closed his eyes for a brief moment, not in grief. In focus. Then he opened them. Lock it down, he said quietly. Every human knew what that meant. Emergency doors sealed throughout the station. Manual overrides failed. Internal maps updated, but only for humans. Non-human Alliance units found themselves locked out of key areas. This is not an evacuation, Elias added. This is containment. The station changed character. It no longer felt like a damaged structure. It felt alive. Krill's soldiers moved cautiously, weapons raised. Their armor was designed to intimidate, to dominate open battlefields. But corridors grew narrower, lighting dimmed to uncomfortable levels. Gravity adjusted in short, sharp pulses. Not enough to injure. Enough to confuse. One Krill squad tried to regroup. A door opened behind them. They turned. Nothing there. The door closed. Air pressure dropped suddenly. Not lethal. Just painful. Then it returned. Again. Again. Human voices remained calm on private channels. Wait. Now. Seal. The Krill were being hunted. Slowly. Deliberately. Alliance soldiers watched with growing fear and awe. Humans were not charging. They were not shouting war cries. They were removing options. On the flagship, Zalrith slammed his claw into the console. This is unacceptable, he roared. Destroy the station. Weapons powered up. Then failed. Human ships had already disabled targeting relays. Zalrith stared at the screen. Humans did this, he whispered. Yes, Commander, an officer replied, voice shaking. They anticipated this response. On the station, Elias walked past the spot where the human engineer had fallen. Her body had been carefully moved aside, covered, respected. A Venturi officer followed him nervously. You are going too far, she said. This is war. Elias stopped. He turned slowly. No, he said, this is consequence. He pointed to the corridor ahead, where a sealed door trapped a Krill unit. They attacked civilians. They killed someone who was not fighting. He looked at her. We do not forgive that. The Venturi swallowed. You will wipe them out. Elias shook his head. No, we will teach them. The final Krill boarding team tried to flee. Humans opened one escape route. Just one. They let the Krill run. Straight into an airlock. The lock did not open to space. It opened to containment. Captured alive. On the Krill flagship, Zalrith watched the last report arrive. All boarding teams neutralized. Station under human control. Human fleet blocking retreat paths. Zalrith felt something he had never felt before. Regret. A message appeared on the main screen. Human origin. No threats. No insults. Just words. You hurt one of us. You woke all of us. Zalrith stared at the screen. Humans had not unleashed chaos. They had unleashed unity. Above Virx 9, human ships moved closer, forming a protective wall around the station. Alliance Command finally understood. Humans did not fight as individuals. They fought as a system. Damage one part, and the whole system responded. On the station, Elias stood beside his team, faces tired, eyes hard. A Zephian officer whispered, "What happens now?" Elias looked out at the stars. "Now," he said, "now they learn why surviving Earth was not an accident. The war was no longer about territory. It was about a rule the galaxy had never written. You can ignore humans. You can mock humans. You can underestimate humans. But if you hurt one of them, you wake them all." Earth taught them this. Earth was never kind. That was the first lesson humans learned. Before space travel, before alliances, before stars had names, humans lived on a planet that tried to kill them every single day. Storms tore cities apart. The ground shook without warning. Diseases spread silently. Animals hunted them. Even the air and water could betray them. Earth did not care if you were smart. It did not care if you were strong. You adapted, or you died. The galaxy never understood this. To most species, planets were stable, predictable, safe. Danger came from enemies, not from home. Earth was different, and Earth shaped humans in ways no one saw. On Virx 9, the war had slowed. Krill ships drifted back, damaged and confused. Human ships held their positions calmly, like hunters who knew the prey had nowhere left to run. Inside the station, Alliance officers moved carefully around human units. There was respect now. And fear. Lieutenant Elias Morgan stood in a quiet observation room, staring at a hologram of Earth. Blue, beautiful, deadly. A Zephian commander stood beside him. Your people fight like this because of your planet. Elias nodded slowly. Earth didn't teach us how to win wars, he said. It taught us how to survive them. The commander tilted his head. Survival and war are not the same. Elias looked at him. They are when losing means extinction. On the Krill flagship, Commander Zalrith reviewed captured human data, environmental reports, history files, survival statistics. The numbers made no sense. How did they live here? He whispered. An advisor answered quietly. They did not live peacefully, Commander. They endured. Zalrith scrolled further. Human cities rebuilt after destruction, again and again and again. Wars fought not for conquest but survival. Famines survived, plagues beaten back, species-level threats faced and defeated. They should not exist, Zalrith said. They exist because they refuse to stop, the advisor replied. That was when Zalrith understood the truth. Humans did not become dangerous in space. They arrived dangerous. Back on the station, Elias addressed a group of Alliance officers. You think we're calm because we're brave, he said. "We're calm because panic never helped us back home." He showed them Earth footage. Floods swallowing cities, fires consuming forests, humans forming lines, moving supplies, rescuing strangers. "We don't wait for perfect plans," Elias continued. "We act, we fix, we adapt." A Venturi officer whispered, "That sounds exhausting." Elias gave a small, tired smile. "It is." Human ships repositioned slowly, no rush, no excitement. They were not hunting for glory. They were ending a threat. Krill commanders attempted negotiations. They offered territory, resources, apologies. Human leadership responded with silence. Finally, a single human transmission went out. "Tell us why you attacked civilians." Zalrith hesitated before replying. "They were not warriors." "That's why," the human voice said calmly. "That was your last mistake." The galaxy listened. Because for the first time, humans were not reacting. They were explaining. On Earth, humans learned that predators look for weakness, that disasters punish hesitation, that survival requires unity. Those lessons traveled with them to the stars. When humans formed alliances, they hoped others shared those values. The Krill proved they did not. Human fleets moved again. Not to destroy planets. To remove threats. Supply lines vanished. Command structures collapsed. Krill forces found themselves isolated without support. Every move was precise. Measured. Unemotional. Zalrith watched his empire unravel and finally understood. "Earth didn't make them cruel," he said softly. "It made them prepared." On the station, Alliance soldiers gathered around human teams. "You could rule the galaxy," one officer said quietly. Elias shook his head. "We don't want to rule." "Then what do you want?" "To be left alone," Elias replied, "and for people to stop hurting those who can't fight back." The human fleet held its position, waiting, giving the Krill one final chance. The galaxy felt something shift. Not fear. Respect. Earth had taught humans how fragile life was, and how hard it must be protected. As stars burned silently outside the station, one truth spread through every alliance, empire, and neutral world. Humans were not shaped by peace. They were shaped by survival. And survival had made them unstoppable. The bad move. The Krill thought the worst was over. That was their final mistake. For the first time since the war began, the battlefield went quiet. No weapons fired. No ships advanced. Human fleets held position like statues made of steel. To the Krill, silence meant hesitation. They misunderstood silence. On the Krill flagship, Commander Zalrith stood before his council. His armor was scratched. His voice was tired. "The humans have stopped attacking," one officer said. "This is our chance." Zalrith did not answer immediately. He had studied the humans now, their history, their patterns. "They don't stop because they are unsure," he said slowly. "They stop when they are deciding." The council ignored the warning. "We still have weapons," another officer said. "One strike, something strong enough to remind them who they face." Zalrith turned sharply. "You want to strike again?" "Yes," the officer replied. "A controlled attack, a warning." Zalrith felt cold spread through his body. "Humans do not understand warnings," he said quietly. "They understand actions." The council voted anyway. The decision was made. A single Krill strike ship broke formation and jumped toward a human supply vessel near Vierx 9. The ship was unarmed. Medical markings were clearly visible. The Krill fired. The human ship exploded in silence. No battle followed. No immediate response. Across the system, human channels went dark again. Alliance commanders felt it instantly. "This feels wrong," one whispered. On a human command vessel, Lieutenant Elias Morgan watched the explosion replay. His face did not change. "How many?" he asked. 17, a voice replied. "Medical crew, civilians." Elias nodded once. "Confirm," he said. "Confirmed." Elias closed his eyes. Then he opened them. "Broadcast this," he said calmly. A message went out to every ship, every station, every human unit. They chose. That was all. Human fleets moved. Not fast. Not dramatic. They moved with purpose. Krill command relays disappeared first, not destroyed, disabled, silent. Entire fleets lost coordination in seconds. Supply ships vanished next. Engines failed. Life support shut down. Crews were left drifting. Human ships did not fire randomly. They targeted systems. Control, movement, escape. The Krill tried to respond. Their weapons would not lock. Their orders would not transmit. On the flagship, Zalrith watched his empire fall apart piece by piece. "This was a mistake," he whispered. A human signal appeared on the main screen. Elias Morgan's face filled the display. Calm, controlled, human. "You attacked a medical ship," Elias said evenly, "after we gave you time." Zalrith straightened. "It was not my order." "That doesn't matter," Elias replied. "You are still responsible." "What do you want?" Zalrith asked. "Accountability," Elias said. Human ships began boarding key Krill vessels. Not with overwhelming force. With efficiency. Krill soldiers were disarmed, restrained, and contained. Leaders were separated from troops. No executions. No torture. That terrified the Krill more than violence ever could. Alliance observers watched in stunned silence. "They're not destroying them," a Venturi commander said. "No," another replied, "they're ending them." On the captured Krill flagship, Elias stood face to face with Zalrith. "You could have stopped this," Elias said. Zalrith looked at the human. "Your species is dangerous." Elias nodded, "Yes." "Why not finish us?" Zalrith asked bitterly. "Why not wipe us out?" Elias looked around the command deck. "Because Earth taught us something," he said. "Survival is not about destroying everything. It's about removing what causes harm." He leaned closer. "And then making sure it never happens again." Human forces seized Krill military command, shipyards, and weapon production facilities, all without leveling a single city. The galaxy watched stunned. This was not conquest. This was correction. A final human message was broadcast across known space. Simple, clear. "We offered peace. You attacked civilians. This outcome was your choice." The war ended that day. Not with a final explosion. With a decision. Krill leadership was removed, their military dismantled, their people spared. Commander Zalrith was taken into custody. As he was escorted away, he asked one final question. "What happens now?" Elias answered without hesitation. "Now," he said, "the galaxy learns what a bad move looks like." The stars remained silent. But everyone was listening. "Hear why you won't survive." The galaxy changed without fireworks. No great explosion marked the end of the war. No cheering fleets filled the stars. What followed was worse. Silence. The Krill Dominion was still there, their planet still spun, their people still lived, but their power was gone, their fleets were dismantled, their leaders removed. And everyone knew why. Because humans had decided they were finished. Across the Galactic Alliance, emergency meetings were called. Species that had once laughed at humans now watched every human movement with careful attention. Fear was not the reason. Understanding was. On Vierx 9, the damaged station was finally quiet. Repairs were underway. Alliance soldiers moved freely again. Human units stayed until everything worked. Then they prepared to leave. Lieutenant Elias Morgan stood at the observation window one last time. Stars burned calmly beyond the glass. A Venturi commander approached him. "The Krill will remember this," she said. Elias nodded. "That's the point." "You spared them," she added. "Many expected revenge." Elias turned slowly. "We don't survive by burning everything," he said. "We survive by making sure threats never rise again." Across Alliance space, recordings of the war spread. Analysts studied human behavior. Historians rewrote old assumptions. Humans were not reckless. Humans were not cruel. Humans were not weak. They were patient. On the former Krill capital world, Commander Zaurith sat in confinement. No chains, no pain, just time. He replayed the human message again and again. "You hurt one of us. You woke all of us." He had believed fear controlled the galaxy. He was wrong. Humans controlled consequences. The Alliance Council finally addressed humanity directly. A full assembly, hundreds of species listening. A single human representative stood before them. No armor, no weapons. Just words. "We are not here to rule," the human said. "We are not here to threaten." Murmurs spread. "We joined the galaxy to explore, to learn, to cooperate." The speaker paused. "But understand this clearly." The room went silent. "We survived Earth." Images appeared. Storms, fires, floods, plagues, wars. "We learned what happens when danger is ignored," the human continued. "We learned what happens when cruelty goes unchecked." Another pause. "If you seek peace, you will find us fair." The final words came calmly. "If you seek victims, do not choose humans." The broadcast ended. No applause. No argument. Everyone understood. In the weeks that followed, trade routes reopened. Borders stabilized. Old enemies reconsidered old plans. Human ships returned to exploration, science missions, construction projects. But something remained. Awareness. Every military academy added new case studies. Do not provoke humans. Do not test humans. Do not assume humans will break. On Earth, life continued as it always had. Cities buzzed, children laughed, storms still came. Nothing looked special. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. Back at the academy, new students whispered stories. How did the humans win? They were outmatched. They had less weapons. Veteran officers answered quietly. They didn't win by force. They won by endurance. They won because they know how to lose and keep going. Lieutenant Elias Morgan boarded a human transport, leaving Vierx 9 behind. A young Alliance officer walked beside him. "Will there be another war?" the officer asked. Elias considered the question. "There always is," he said, "somewhere. And if someone challenges humans again." Elias stopped at the ramp. He looked out at the stars. "Then they'll learn the same lesson," he said. "What lesson?" Elias smiled faintly. "That humans don't need to be the strongest." The transport doors began to close. "We only need to be the last one standing." The ship lifted off, disappearing into the dark. Across the galaxy, a single truth settled into every mind. You can defeat empires. You can destroy fleets. You can crush armies. But if you mess with humans, you won't survive. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon for more amazing videos.